G'day and welcome back to the Pillars of Ranternity. Last time round we leveled up, got ourselves a new companion who is a shape-shifting druid, as all druids are in this setting, and we are now headed to Deerford Village. We found a weird ruin on the way. We don't seem to have everything we need to kind of investigate that, so we're not just yet. Instead, we're going to go and look through this village. This is probably where we'll spend the next couple of days, actually. By days, I mean episodes of the series. Hopefully it should be all kind of one night. But that's where I'm hoping to kind of find the next story hooks. We've got a scroll to find here. And maybe after that, we will head back to Caed Nua. I don't know why I'm sneaking... Oh, probably because I didn't turn off sneaking. Let's go and chat with this dude.
Out with you! I already told you what... I'm sorry. I thought you were one of those ruffians.
It's kind of a pity that when they have actual voice acting, I can't do any of the descriptive text because there's no pause for it. But yeah, it looks like this guy's been beaten up. Looks like someone's beaten us here.
How may I help you?
What happened to you?
I never saw their faces. Strange hooded men asking about those ruins. Cleoban Relag. Most of the brigands who come through here asking about the ruins are looking for a few ancient trinkets. But these people knew the name, and they were in a hurry.
Okay.
They wanted to know where Cleoban Relag was. I tried to keep it from them, but I couldn't hold out forever. I don't know what they were up to, but it can't be good.
That does sound like the leaden key, doesn't it? Is there something else I can help you with? Can you tell me more about Deerford? Folk here tend to keep to themselves, as they do in most towns this deep in the Deerwood. They're suspicious of travellers, but with all the brigands and refugees moving through the area, who can blame them? This is a temple of Bareth. Who the hell is Bareth? The most universal of all the gods. It oversees portals and cycles of all kinds, even life and death itself. Under Bareth, an ending is merely a passage to another beginning. Bareth has many representations across time and across cultures. Around Deerwood, you'll commonly see it depicted as the Pallid Knight or the Usher. The Glanfathans, however, know it as Benwyn I Anku and Anku I Benwyn. Bunin, probably. Who's a Pallid Knight? She is one of the youngest manifestations of Bareth, but a familiar one nonetheless. Stories describe her as a gaunt knight in black armor with black eyes, black hair, and milk-pale skin. She demands an impossible toll from travelers who have tarried too far on her lord's road. Some challenge her only to slay themselves in the process. Who is the Usher? Kith have written stories, songs, and poems about the Usher for centuries. Sometimes he's folk, sometimes dwarf, and sometimes merely a walking skeleton. He never speaks, and he guides the way to death, and in the next life, he also creates circumstances for the wayward to stumble into their own graves. I've never heard of this last one. Bunin I Anku and Anku I Bonin. It means life in death and death in life, respectively. You see them as two skeletal figures, one male and one female. Explorers have found them carved opposite one another in doorways, but I know of no particular legends that speak of them. Thanks for the info. Can you tell me... Of course, Bareth was once more widely worshipped in this area, but it is a silent god. People these days find themselves in need of clearer answers. Can you tell me more... where to find these ruins?
Glanfathan tribe that guards the ruins will kill anyone who trespasses there. And will retaliate against us, too, if history is any indication. We've had too many fortune seekers stir up trouble of late. If I'm to tell you, I'll need to know your reason for wanting to go.
That does sound pretty reasonable. It's like, oh, those guys beat you up to find out where the ruins are. So where are those ruins? Just asking for a friend. So this is where I say, go into the ruins and I'll kill you. And that's where you say, Herodias, I'm a watcher and you're no match for all of us and we've got good reason for this. And then I give up trying to argue with you and leave you to dig your own trespasser's grave. I'm only being half metaphoric. So we sometimes make Deerwoodens dig their own grave before we kill you. When kids hear about it, it's a fabulous deterrent. A dangerous plot is unfolding. Because, yeah, I mean, all of these are dumb. I like that, you know, Herodias actually, if he's here, will say, hey, no, you shouldn't go to those ruins. Not your thing to do. Dangerous plot is unfolding there. I've got to stop it.
If that's the case,
really easy to persuade him.
Have trouble headed our way. I'll have to take you at your word. You'll find Cleoban Relog here. Whatever trouble you find there, please end it quietly and try to stay out of the ruins.
Sure. I might not take Herodias to those ruins because I think I might sneak in and loot as much stuff as I can. But what? Because I am tolerant of cultures. And sneaky sneaks.
Just say the word. Ready, Watcher.
Come on. How do I get you to
Just say
head
the
back
word.
to those candles? Because I'm pretty sure my sneakiness is not... Oh, it totally is enough. Okay.
I'm on it. Yeah.
So, hey Eloth, would you like another scroll? Oh, I put it in the stash. So scrolls would be in ingredients? No. In that? Maybe. No. In potions? What does Moonwall do? Lunar energy, regenerating endurance. Okay, that actually sounds like a pretty useful thing to have in a pinch.
Just say the word.
You must gather your party before venturing forth. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we've kind of got a bit more context about what's going on. We've got our first part of the story
Not
quest.
a problem.
Let's stop sneaking.
Not a
We're in
problem.
town. We're just basically going up here to find things to crafting ingredients. And look, there's more backer NPCs. Okay, so this is kind of... I should actually point something out. So when they were making the Pillars of Eternity, they released a copy to backers at some point, which was basically just this village and a little bit of a quest. So this, I've never, until the previous recording session, never actually been here in the main game. But I do remember talking to her and getting a quest. I also remember fighting in here and just not getting on with the system.
Well met, friend.
Greetings. A look of horror slowly forms on his face. Blazes, you've just come from the village, have you? How bad was it? How bad was what? Haven't you heard? There's a murderer on the loose, said to have gone mad with grief and strangled a dozen healthy children when her own was hollowborn. He nods at the figures with him. We'll come all the way from Defiance Bay to bring her to justice. She's here? He nods across the river. She's hiding out in the village. We're going after her ourselves, but the problem is she knows our faces. There's no telling what she'd do if she saw us coming. We'd like to avoid any further unnecessary bloodshed. Her name's Nifri. She's an Orlan. We want to get her out of town so that we can deal with her cleanly. She knows what we're looking for. She knows we're looking for her. But if someone were to convince her that it's safe to leave... if she's a mass murderer, why didn't the Duke send the Crucible Knights after her? Look at distaste flickers across his face. It's quick, but you catch it. The powers that be want to keep things quiet, for obvious reasons. Better not to cause a fuss, and certainly better not to startle her into doing something drastic. I'm not so sure about this. A mad woman like that is everybody's problem, friend. Just keep an eye out if you come across her. Remember what I told you, and I'll promise you I'll make it worth your while. I got a few questions for you. Nah. Actually, I don't. Okay, so now we go across here. Whoa, just a moment. Sure. You've recently come to Deerfoot, I take it. I don't suppose you saw a young elven noblewoman on the road and stuck in this wretched place with the rest of my unit until we find her. Who is she? Lady Elise. She's the daughter of Lord Nestor Harrod. She's gone missing. Perhaps you could go speak with Lord Harrod at the inn. He'll be grateful for the assistance, and it could be the villagers will open up to you more than they have to us. Okay, cool. So there's a quest, and then we head down here. Damn Galloween for monsters like that! Damn the rest of the gods too! A man paces angrily in front of a wrecked animal pen, his sun-weathered face twisted with ire. He's so wrapped up in his fury he doesn't seem to notice you. Galloween, slumbering beast, blazing bloody effigy, thrice damned salty wench, and a soggy... What's wrong? That's probably not the best way to pray to the gods. Fat lot of good they've done me so far. Look at this mess. My pen ruined and all but a few measly runts gone. Just Dylan, what are you talking about? An ogre moved into the area not long ago. Folk have been seeing glimpses and tracks out in the woods, but seem to be staying away from town. So we all thought until it made off with my pigs. Now everyone's afraid it's going to develop a taste for kith if it hasn't already. Did you see the ogre take your pigs? What else would have destroyed my pen and made off with my herd? And at the same time, the rest of the village is seeing a 10-foot monster in the forest. I know it's too late to get my pigs back, but I'd set my mind at ease to see that thing's head shorn from its neck. In fact, you bring its ugly pate to me, and I'll trade you for something that's less useful to me as a farmer than to a rowdy-looking sort like yourself. Sent to find an Olene Nifri. You know where she is? Never even heard of her. What do you know about the ogre? Same as any other, I'm sure. A big, ugly son of a bitch with nasty temper and appetite to match. Trigger could tell you more. He claims to have seen it in the woods. You can find him in his shop, right by the broken tower. Need something else? Nah. It's good. So, there's another bit of stuff for us to do. Villager, villager, villager.
I'll take a look. Just say the word.
Whoops. Let's, probably should have gotten one of the front runners to do it.
Just say the word.
Oh, whatever. So, we're headed down here because, well, for entirely metagame reasons, she's on the map. Therefore, she must have something she must be, important. Okay. The woman looks briefly through you as though she doesn't know you're here. I'm just curious, actually. Really? That is someone playing with a sword. That does not seem like a woman grieving. This middle-aged peasant woman is dressed in a brown leather cloth, draped down to her knees. Her hands are working at separate stringy, colourless vegetables in a pile before her, stripping the heads off the long, fibrous stems with a paring knife. She discards the stems one by one, placing the heads of the vegetables into a small, cradle-like basket in front of her. She doesn't greet you as you approach. You're not even sure she knows you're there. Excuse me? The woman doesn't respond. She keeps stripping the heads from the vegetables in a steady rhythm. She might be deaf. There's no indication she heard you. Study the woman. At first glance, she seems nothing more than a middle-aged woman, unremarkable, perhaps maybe less stern than most, who seems more focused on the weaving in her lap than her surroundings. You suddenly notice she's not stripping the vegetables before her any longer. She's weaving, and the vegetable pots are now missing. She still pays you no mind, her brown locks torn and snagged from lack of washing, like many of the townsfolk you've seen. There's a strange blow to her. Even the motions of her hands seem to be playing with threads that lack colour in a shape that lacks interest. Maybe that she's half-minded or deaf, but something feels wrong. As you watch, her knitting takes on an odd cadence, and you have a terrible suspicion that something lurks beneath what your eyes are showing you. Focus on her. The brown hair is long, almost impossibly to the length of her hands. As you follow the streams of her locks downward, the hairs become long and black, splitting off into threads of black and silver, wrapping around her hands. She is forming a soul cradle with the threads, braiding a net in front of you, each finger long and sharp like a series of knitting needles, almost hypnotic. The silver and black strands of her hair weave together, with silver predominating as a highlight, the black shadowing it. And suddenly, you're calm. You're on a plateau, almost the height of a tower, several stories high. The plateau is like a table lying beneath the clear sky, and beneath the plateau, surrounding it in all directions, a forest hazy with mist, although whether it's actual mist or distance or a recollection, resting in the curve of a natural arc above you, is a great copper bell, half again the size of a man, hanging at attention as if looking down on you and the event unfolding before you. The plateau is soaked in the sun, and the rock beneath you is rough and warm. The sky forms a cradle around you, and you feel different, not disembodied. You feel your body. Your physical contours have changed along with the surrounding, and you hear a soft series of chimes, like wind chimes. At the sound, the scene gains colour and texture, as if the sound is beckoning you gently forth, filling your senses and thoughts, like mist rolling into a sealed chamber, and the chime coaxes you deeper into the memory. You're certain it's a memory, a warm one. You're on the stone of the plateau, your knees on the warm texture of the ground, silver white, shimmering like Adra. The plateau is formed of it, glistening in the sun. You can feel the heat on your skin, your wrists and your hands. Your hands are in motion. Weaving, not thread, but gathering, tenderly moving along the first movements of Barrett's wheel. Your hands are wet. Your hands are upon the flesh of a newborn child, and you can feel the crowning of a tiny head turning in your grip, its head slick, wet from the womb. The hands you're inhabiting have done this many times, and they're practiced and confident. You can feel distant pains in your own head as the head merges, a stream of fluid from the womb helping the newborn slide forth, and a woman's labored breathing, crying out. Focus on the child, the movement of your hands. As your hands move, you hear the sound of chimes, clear, cutting through the haze of memory. You cannot see where they're coming from, but they're close, and they're meant as a comfort, of that you're certain. Draw the child forth, and as coaxed by your hand, every movement causes the chimes to sound again. Almost eagerly, the child comes forth, and as it does, your hands are in motion, weaving, moving along the length of a soft, wet rope. No, an umbilical cord, from the legs of the naked woman before you. You're holding a small child, still wet from the womb, before you. The child cries out, its cry full of life, full of soul, the ringing of chimes echoing in its thoughts, filling it with its welcome. The soul is blurred at the edges, as if you're viewing a soul from within a soul. But it is there, it is alive. The woman before you is weeping, and at her first cry, her hands reach out for it. Surrender the child. You surrender the child to her, something you've done many times before, and as your hands move, the chimes echo the movement, and you realize the chimes are hanging from the cords on your wrists. And where they once echoed in the memory, they are now echoing in the child's mind as well. The chimes are intended to welcome the child, to be its first gentle greeting into the world, soothing thoughts guided by tender motions of your wrists. You're helping to weave its thoughts, its perceptions, and the experience. The woman laughs with a ragged joy, laughing from a parched throat. Her emotions seem enthused, but the physical demands of labor have left her exhausted. But the child is here, the child is safe, and all atop the plateau is peaceful, calm, distant, flattening out as the memory persists. Slowly pull back, retreat from the memory. With effort, the scene bleeds of colour and your mind becomes your own again. There is no pull, no anchor, yet the sound of the chimes remains. As they existed in the memory, they sound here as well, and hanging from the woven braids on the wrists of the woman before you. Even as your head is spinning from the touch of her mind, the sound of the chimes on her wrists is sharp and clear, as if coaxing you back to the real world. The woman still sits before you, but she's nothing like what you first saw. She's still wearing black, shredded garments that drape over her like streamers. Her hair is streaks of black and run through with silver. Her age is almost impossible to tell. She simply feels old, like a crumpled watchtower. As she lifts her head to face you, you see that her hair is draped across the front of her face like a veil. What you first saw of her was a mental glamour of some sort, unconscious, and you realize what you see is not what the world sees, and you are perhaps the first to see her true self. Still, you don't sense a threat in the realization. If anything, you feel a sense of relief from the figure. You can hear her thoughts, and she is glad at last to be seen. Who are you?
I am seen, but the eyes of others do not remember. You were the first to see me as I am, the call stripped aside.
There is a light touch on your mind, a caress, and her left hand mirrors the motion of the touch. reaching up to the air between you. You hear the chime on her wrist sound softly as her hand moves as if miming resting on your cheek at a distance, and she speaks softly and slowly.
Your memories. A cadence of wheels on a caravan track. Fever. Questions by running water. Violence in a night's campfire. Arrows in the dark. And fleeing. Falling rock and cracking stone. And a storm. The storm.
She stops, her hand frozen in the air.
The storm that brushed you. Did its screaming wake you from your mind's cradle? Your memory of it is painful. Its cry is difficult to ignore. It's like a child. Many children crying out.
What happened between us on that plateau memory we shared? Her hand withdraws shyly, the chime sounding softly once again. The woman stands uncertainly as if she'd been sitting for some time, or is too weak to bear her own weight. You notice her cheekbones are tight, her face gaunt, yet while her stance is weak, she seems determined to stand before you.
You are able to see me.
It's almost a question. You realize she doesn't seem to know what you saw when you looked at her. The image on the plateau, yet the image was so clear, so sharp, you're surprised she didn't feel you there.
See me as a rare gift. A watcher's gift.
Yeah, and with every backer NPC basically seems to work this way. So we totally have been able to do that with another living person. That is frustrating to have yet another indication that backer content is just an afterthought and not integrated at all into anything. Okay. Sorry. That rant aside. Was I helping a woman give birth? I was in your head and hers.
So many questions, thoughts whirling like storm winds. That storm still roars through you, deep beneath your thoughts, yet muted and secret, like an underground river. I cannot tell if it is carving new channels or eroding what keeps your true strength buried. The fact that you could hear it at all, survive it, is something few have ever done. Your power will grow stronger with each soul you touch, as it allowed you to reach out to mine.
See, if that actually was true and interacting with the backer NPCs made you more powerful, that would be an interesting way of integrating it, but I don't think that is true. There's a silence, and though it seems to last but for a heartbeat, in your thoughts it stretches out between the two of you, like a pull between your minds. You blink, take a deep breath, and then you realize she wants to ask you a question yet can't form the words, as if assembling them is painful, or there are simply not enough pieces. Hey, do you want to travel with me? You feel a wave of fear, gusted with the strength of relief, although oddly her expression does not change. Then fear dissipates and you feel a strength and certainty, as if the plateau from her memory lies beneath you and a calm sky looks down upon you. Okay, so who else do we kick out for the ability to use Grieving Mother? I think we're going to kick out Aloth for the moment.
Farewell.
Because we already did at least part of his quest line, and this gives us Grieving Mother, who is a cypher, which is a character type we haven't really dealt with before. So ciphers use focus for spellcasting, and they have an ability that goes along with their primary attack called Soul Whip. And in fact she's got some talents based around it, which increases the damage that they do, and it basically helps gather focus. So I'm just trying to see where we can find out directly about Soul Whip. There we go. It's a passive ability, but it goes on everything. It basically does energy damage, which helps gather focus, and focus is then used for spells. So she can start off casting a spell, but to do more she has to actually attack. And so she's built at the moment with a dagger and a crossbow, What information do we have about her and weapons? Doesn't look like she has any feats that give her particular weapon abilities. Nope. Although she does become more accurate if she's wounded. That's not terrible or anything, it's just not great. Does Soul Whip work on ranged weapons? It does. But do the enhancements work? They do. Okay. So at the moment I think she's basically equally unskilled with any weapon. If we were to go back and we were to give her let's give her this fancier club. Or Heath Harvest. Does that do more or less damage? 11 to 15, 9 to 13. Yeah, okay, so we'll stick with that. Fine crossbows, not bad. Yeah, we'll do that. 21 to 31. Yeah. Okay.
Just say
so
the word.
There we go. We've got our new party member, Grieving Mother.
Just say the word.
That's basically what I wanted to achieve today. So I guess we'll go to Triggle's currency and see what we can get.
Good day to you.
A young woman leans against the wagon, one arm and one side of her face are covered in bandages with raw rippled flesh showing underneath. A minty tangy scent wafts in from her dressing. Just ventured into town, about dry of some of my stocks, but we walked to have a look. How did you get burned? By the flame. How bad does it look? Just say it. Tell me straight. Who cares how it looks? What matters is that you're okay. Suppose you're right. Good thing I know my poultices. I began to keep an eye on Drake's Nest east of town at Deerford Crossing. Beast stayed just long enough to lay a clutch and moved on. Thank the Sky Mother it wasn't a fully grown dragon. Fresh eggs are much more useful than the ones that get passed between merchants or left in nests for weeks. And that cluck looked to be at its peak. I thought I'd see about getting an egg. Didn't realize so many of them had hatched, or that young ones were so territorial. What's so special about these eggs? One of the strongest tonics known to Kith, if you leave out Carogolan, of course. Not saying anyone should take it, but dragon eggs are known to make Kith bold, purposeful. Some even think they'll protect from beerwax. All I know is everyone's pining after potions made from dragon eggs. The damn roads. Can't reach none of my supplies. I'm stuck with whatever I can scrounge up in the wood. Deercap, riverweed and the like. I could probably get an egg for you. Sure hope you're not leading me on. I don't think I could stand getting burned again. If you really mean to go after it, I'd certainly pay you. Just remember, big as they are, dragon eggs are fragile, and there's a whole lot more I can do with a whole lot. Anything more? What's wrong with the roads? Brigands, looters, you name it. The rest of the gods may be hollowing out our babies, but it's grown folk that's rubbing out the rest of us. People are scrambling to Defiance Bay because they hear there's healthy births there, and all those refugees and abandoned homes attract desperate sorts like flies on dog shit. Well, let's see what we got. Okay, so yeah, this is potions and bits that would go into crafting. And I couldn't be bothered with any of it, so I'm not going to. Okay. But good to know. And that's a task, yeah. So it does actually distinguish between task and quest when you pick them up.
Can you smell the oily notes of brain fat in the air? Cured leather always makes me so hungry.
And Elder Antelope Horn. I'll take it. Alright, let's just see if we can get the ogre details before we finish. And then tomorrow we'll go through more. Can't find it anywhere. We'll talk about it later. Get back to the dyes. I'll take care of our customer.
Hello.
A sturdy, broad-shouldered man wipes his hands on his slacks. He reeks of the same foul combo wafting from the vat, and his arms are stained with dye. Rumbold mentioned something about an ogre. He's hardly talked about anything else since the pigs of his went missing. Whole town's been worried about that monster. People starting to see shapes in their windows at night, hearing its growl and the snoring of their mates. It would put a lot of minds at ease if someone got rid of it. Sometimes venture out in the wilderness, collecting ingredients for my dyes, mind you. Seen tracks east of here, near the river. Couldn't have been anything else. Something else you need? What's in the collapsed tower? It's collapsed. Nothing. few hides on stretching racks, and tallow stench danglers always grumbling about. The rest of it keeps dust, just like the fool lady Thenu who tried to hold it. There's a bard at the inn who'll tell you the whole blazing story if you want to hear it. What do you got for sale? Ah, some fairly nice armor. Ah, and those seem reasonably nice. How does... okay. So that doesn't increase health, it increases endurance, which means that you recover from wounds during battle, but you don't actually get more hit points per day. Okay, fair enough. Doesn't extend your working day. Alright, I think that is probably enough then. And we got the details of the quest.
I'll have this open in no
What
time.
happens? Stay on my private quarters. That goes for you and Harren's bootlickers. Okay, fair enough. And yeah, I guess we will leave it here. Until next time, have a great day, and
Got something over here.
we'll see what we can get done. Ooh. Dang. Go away. I'm just gonna hide here. Come on. And there we go. Oh, the key. Okay.
Just say the word.
So, next time around, we'll investigate this further. But you are inconvenient. I wonder if I can do something about that.
What?
Just
out
say
of
the word.
curiosity, mind you. Nope, you can just walk through my guys. Fair enough. Alright, next time around, we will investigate this whole area. And by this whole area, I actually mean the village, not just this crumbling tower. Until then, have a great day. Bye. Thank you for watching. If you've made it this far, then you might be interested in watching one of my other videos. On the left should be the next video in the series, and on the right, whatever YouTube recommends. If you've been enjoying this, please remember, hit the like or subscribe button. It really helps me out. Thanks. Bye.